This has got to be one of the strangest and most memorable shoots of my career. The Krankies. It was the year 2000 after their career. So I guess we should explain who the Krankies are.
Yeah, well, explain to me, because this is way before my time.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, there was they were kind of vaudevillian, sort of cabaret type of act that had kind of somehow ended up on children's TV. And they consisted of a father or sort of some man in a sort of paternalistic, an ambiguous paternalistic role who had this young boy called Jimmy. Wee Jimmy Krankie. And they had a catchphrase, Fandabby Doozy. It was very Scottish, very parochial, really, actually very British. I mean, people in America are going to be, I don't know what they're going to make of this. I got commissioned by Scotland on Sunday to go down there. They lived in a bungalow by this stage, which is a one-storey building in Torquay, which is a sort of holiday resort. The journalist who flew down from Scotland was called Vicky Allen. She's a really good writer, and she's gone on to do lots of books about wild swimming. And we always got on really, really well. So we were it was a bit of a jolly. It felt like we were on holiday or something. She flew from Scotland, so I picked her up from Exeter Airport, and we headed on down to the seaside resort of Torquay to meet the Krankies. We were shown in, and I think it was sort of towards the end of the day, and I did my shoot first. Got amazing pictures. I mean, it's so kind of weird and grotesque. It's one thing when you're a kid and you're viewing their oeuvre through the TV. You don't question it, but when you sort of see them in the flesh, it's a whole other ballpark.
Some sort of weird fever dream. Before we go on to the shoot, I thought maybe you could talk about what they were like.
Really lovely and very accommodating. You know, we had all the time we wanted. The whole afternoon was stretching out in front of us. I took my time. I got this really kind of, you just can't go wrong because she was so tiny. I sort of photographed her against this white wall in the garden, and then I did some pictures inside of the two of them together. The shoot couldn't have gone better. I got my pictures. I got my weird, kind of the photo equivalent of a early Louis Theroux, Weird Weekends. It was exactly like that. We were hanging out with the Krankies, and it was very weird and funny. And then as the evening wore on, we had to do the interview, and I sort of was going to give Vicky a lift back to the airport. So I was hanging around, and they got the wine out, and we were drinking wine. And I remember Vicky's face was getting quite flushed because I couldn't drink that much because I had to drive, but we were getting a bit jolly. And it was all kind of very convivial, but weird. We were all getting a bit drunk.
Maybe we should preface as well.
Well, this is what we ended up learning subsequently, was that they were really into swinging, and they were kind of very avant-garde people.
They described it as their dirty 30s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think they were out of their dirty 30s by the time we did the pictures, and did the interview. But there was definitely a very weird atmosphere, and it would be conceited of me to think that they'd be interested in me. But Vicky was very attractive, and we were kind of like fresh young couple coming down there, and we were very interested in them, and it was just very, very strange. And driving Vicky back, we were laughing the whole time. It was just one of the most memorable and weird shoots I have ever done. I think it's very much a carapace. It's something that they kind of perform, clothes that they put on, and then when they take them off, they're very much Ian and Jeanette. It's sort of old school comedy. So comedy now is all about kind of revealing authenticity, revealing who you really are, warts and all your vulnerabilities. But back then, in the 70s and 80s, it was old school. It was like it's an act, putting on a performance, and that's what they did. I mean, apart from the fact that they had very broad Scottish accents, the whole of their act was a very much a construct. You know, it was something that they kind of conceived over time that had been really effective and had brought them into the mainstream and onto children's television. I'd just like to shout out to the Krankies for thanks for a great evening and for making Vicky and I feel very welcome.
Entertaining you in your childhood.
Yeah, I mean, it made for a great tear sheet. And actually, in my portfolio, in amongst, you know, Demi Moore and all these kind of A-listers, I always put that picture of wee Jimmy Krankie, because it actually worked really well across 2 pages, because there was plenty of space, and it also, when I was in New York and showing my portfolio around, you know, people would just think, who on earth is that? And I like that, because a good picture should just be a good picture. It shouldn't be good because of the subject.
All right, well, thank you. Short video, an opportunity to show your pictures of the Krankies, which you're obviously quite proud of.
Yeah, and people who are of a certain vintage and were brought up in the UK will be familiar with the Krankies. But I think it's important to sort of get them out into a more broader, you know, spread their message more widely.
Yeah, British icons.
Absolutely, British icons. And, you know, they are kind of, they represent that kind of idiosyncratic sort of strangeness that is quintessentially British.